Welcome to the October 25th Select Board meeting. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you for being here tonight, everyone. This meeting is being recorded and broadcast live on local access television. It will be available upon demand, and it's probably being streamed on Facebook as well. I just will go around the board and ask all the board members to introduce themselves to ensure that we have a quorum.
Jennifer Stacy.
Mark Lamb.
I'm Dottie Fulgenetti.
And I'm Craig Barger.
And we have our town administrator, Connor Reed, executive assistant, Elizabeth Hegg. And we will just jump right into this. Our first item is at 6 p.m., which is a timed public hearing for discussion and vote to recommend acceptance of Barron Drive and Cooper Lane. Greg, you want to read the...
Where is that one?
It's up your left hand.
Left-hand side, right here. Okay. The Easton Select Board will hold a public hearing on October 25th, 2023 at 6 p.m. at the Easton Town Hall, Colleen Corona, Boardroom 136 Elm Street, Northeastern Massachusetts, for the purpose of recommending acceptance of the following: Barron Drive, Station 0+00 to Station 22+49, and Cooper Lane, Station 0+00 to Station 3+16. Any person interested or wishing to be heard on the proposed street acceptance should appear at the time and place designated for the public meeting. The plan can be viewed at the Office of Planning and Economic Development in Town Hall.
Great. Stephanie, you want to come up and talk about that?
Good evening, everybody. Stephanie Danielson, the Director of Planning and Economic Development. This is a road acceptance for Barron Lane and Barron Drive and Cooper Lane. This is for a 26 unit subdivision that was approved by the Planning Board in 2017. All the work has been completed, all the houses have been built, and the road has been constructed. During the construction period, we had our peer engineer on site to conduct inspections to ensure that the road was being constructed to the standards that were approved by the board and have been laid out by the town at this point in time, and it was always intended to be accepted as a public way. So the board is being asked to recommend this to town meeting for the formal approval and acceptance process.
Great. Any questions?
No, this sounds pretty standard, right? There's nothing
Yes.
unique about this situation? Okay. Thank you.
Like the proper people have looked at it, like the fire chief or
Yes, we
clearances
sought
and-
comments from fire, police, and DPW. There were no adverse comments.
Yeah,
Great.
I have no
I'm fine
questions.
with
Okay. I guess just for the people at home that are listening to this, when the development is being built and the roads are being built, the developer has to build the streets according to a certain spec to be accepted by the town. Over years in the past, you might hear that there's been some private ways that never got accepted by the town. It's because that process didn't fulfill. So this is exactly the way it's supposed to work out, is at the end, even though it seems like a little while ago that it was finished, it does have to be sure that all those roads meet the compliance, because we don't want to go back in 5 years and have a problem that it was left not in compliance and then the town has to fix it, which is our tax dollars. So is that a good way to sum it up?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
Yes, this is a good ending.
All right, excellent. So with that, I would take a vote to recommend the acceptance of Barron Drive and Cooper Lane.
So I move to accept Barron Drive and Cooper Lane.
Second, Lamb.
That's Barger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
And the next public hearing is starting at 6:05. So Craig, you can get your paperwork in order and we'll wait that last minute.
Okay. It's eerily quiet in here.
I know. For the public hearings, we have to wait until the exact time that's posted on the agenda. So somebody doesn't come in and say, they finished it before I got here and I cared about that one. So we are at 6:05.
In accordance with Chapter 44 of the Easton Town Code, the Easton Select Board will hold a public hearing in the Colleen A. Corona Boardroom, 136 Elm Street, Easton, Mass. On Wednesday, October 25th, 2023, at 6:05 p.m. The hearing will include a discussion and determination as to whether the 2024 annual town election should be rescheduled, provided it is not before April 15th and not later than April 30th of 2024. Interested residents will have the opportunity to present either oral or written information on their views. Those wishing further information may contact the Select Board's office.
Okay. Connor, do you want to introduce that one? Or?
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So attached in your packet is a letter of recommendation, a memo from the town clerk, Danielle Sicard. Danielle couldn't be here tonight, but her recommendation and rationale are laid out in that memo. The town clerk is recommending Saturday, April 20th, 2024, from 10 to 4 p.m. at Oliver Ames High School. It's the same approximate date as years past, a Saturday election, same duration, and as with any municipal election since 2022, there would also be no excuse vote by mail available. Town clerk reviewed this date with Easton Public Schools, including athletics, for parking availability and public works, and it works well for setup and logistics as far as ease of access to the schools.
Okay. So a few years back when we had looked at the dates, they have to be in this time frame. We decided that Saturdays were the better day because it's not during a school day, and people had concerns about having elections in a public building during a school day. It leaves us with school vacation week, so it's either going to be the Saturday before vacation or the Saturday after vacation. So, that's some people don't love that part of it if they're going to be on vacation, but you can do early voting for this as well.
By mail. You
By
can vote
mail.
Yes.
So if people are going to be traveling and we hope they will vote, we'll ask them and remind them considerably beforehand to make sure that they get an absentee ballot, and then they can vote before they leave. And those ballots, with absentee ballots, when you get those, you have to apply for them. So you can do it through the website. The clerk will mail you the ballot, and then you can either mail it back or you can bring it back and put it in the ballot box out front, which many prefer because sometimes the mail can take a little bit of time. So with that, any comments or questions on the proposed date of Saturday, April 20th from 10 to 4?
I just have, well, go ahead, you guys go first.
All you, Craig.
Yeah.
I just wondering why the 27th, which is also a Saturday, but it's outside of the school vacation in terms of turnout.
Good question.
Did she answer that in the memo?
No, she just indicated that of the parties responsible as far as the schools and DPW, that the 20th was advantageous. If the board would like to consider a different date, of course you can. If you'd like to have a follow-up at your next meeting, you can.
Did you think the 27th is a better idea?
Well, it's outside of the vacation week, and I know people are away on vacation,
To
and
get
so
a lot
coming
of
back,
feedback,
if they
yeah.
don't come back and they forget to get the absentee ballot, then they don't have the opportunity to vote, which impacts the town. So
making
that's why I
sense.
was thinking maybe if there's something going on at the school on the 27th that I'm not aware of,
That's the
might
only
affect
thing
it.
that I can think of, because the clerk's office generally, we've worked with the clerk for a number of years, and there's usually a reason behind these. But if we want, we can postpone this to the next meeting. I would assume there's probably a lot of school activities that day, but
If we could, I'm in agreement with Craig. I'm sorry. But also the time, 10 to 4. I know we've done 10 to 4 for years and it's worked out well. But I've heard a few comments of people saying, if I could get in there a little bit earlier because it consumes my day to have to wait till 10 and then I miss it because I'm gone till after 4. So the idea of 8 to 4, so people can get in there. Some people like to get in there first thing in the morning. And I think it might help with turnout. Just floating that out there.
so I would take a differing view, is that what we found with changing the hours, it doesn't increase the number of people voting, it just stretches the same number of people out. They take more time to do it. It costs money to,
I know.
to put more hours on, it's longer for the poll workers. And we do have the vote by mail, so if people can't get there with 10 to 4, they can do that as well.
a lot of people don't do vote by mail. They want to vote at the poll. So I would respectfully disagree. I think having it open a little bit earlier would help some people. I might be alone in that, but it's my thought.
Could we just delay the vote and follow up on those 2 points next time, or?
Sure.
If you're going to do that procedure, I'd recommend that you continue the hearing. And we're going to need a moment because you already have hearings scheduled
Yep.
for the 6th. Isn't that right? Is there a way for you to pull up what those are,
Yeah, I know that they're at 6:30 and 6:35.
but none at 6? Are they already posted?
The 6:35, yes.
Is that a problem?
It's just 6
If
months
you
away.
could-
I think we're okay.
Well, this is a public hearing, so they have to be posted.
And if you were to, it's not like a regular business item that you could just table and we can then administratively schedule. You need to make clear now exactly what time it's being continued to. And so we want to make sure, because we already have other hearing notices for your next meeting. We don't want to schedule them for the same time, so we just need a minute to check. Is-
6:30, 6:40.
Okay. And do we have an idea of what the agenda looks like for the night? Would you prefer us to go with 7 or 6? Go with 6. Okay. So then we can go with 6 p.m. Monday, the 6th, at your next regular meeting, if the board would like. If that time works for you, I would ask for you to make a motion in a second to continue the hearing.
Okay.
I move to continue the hearing from tonight to table it till November 6th at 6 p.m.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lim. All in favor? Unanimous.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to the next item. One-day liquor licenses. The first one is Stone Soup LLC, doing business as Langwater Farm. It's a farm event and fundraiser for the Blanche Ames Elementary School, 215 Washington Street, October 28th, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. The rain date is October 29th. So would you like to come up and tell us a little bit about the event?
Hi, everyone. My name is Kate O'Dwyer. My husband Kevin and I own Langwater Farm, and we've been planning this with the Blanche Ames Elementary School to hold a fundraiser. So we are going to be doing wood-fired pizza and hay rides and pumpkin picking, corn maze, things like that for the families of Blanche Ames Elementary, and then a portion of the proceeds goes back to the PAC. So hoping to have Shovel Town Brewery there to serve beer so families can come and hang out on the picnic lawn and enjoy the farm. We're having a sunny Saturday, fingers crossed for once. So yeah.
Well, that's great. Any
Yeah.
comments or questions?
Oh, the last time I was at one of the pizza nights, the place was mobbed. It was,
I know.
It was
Yeah.
incredible.
Yeah, it was
People
a
parking
lot-
on the street and.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, we have a police detail there too to help people get in and out of the farm driveway. Yeah.
All right. Well, it's just amazing, the transformation of that whole area since you began. I remember when nothing was there, and just to drive by and see the lights at night, it's just spectacular. So
thank you.
congratulations on the amazing work there.
Thanks.
And I just will take the opportunity, I try to do this every time, just to recognize that your farm does give food back to the food pantry and the people in the community. So we appreciate that as well.
Yeah, we're big supporters of the food pantry and Kenwood doing great work over there. So
Yeah.
yeah. Looking forward to the Halloween parade on Sunday too.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for mentioning that, because I
Yeah.
forgot all about that. When your kids are grown, you don't keep all those dates in your head anymore. Okay, well, Craig, would you like to make a motion?
So I move that we approve the Stone Soup LLC doing business as Langwater Farm event and fundraiser for Blanche Ames Elementary School, 215 Washington Street, October 28th, 2023, from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., with a rain date of October 29th, 2023.
Second.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. Thanks for being here and good luck with the event.
Yeah, nice to see you. Bye.
All right, next we have Immaculate Conception Parish fundraiser, 193 Main Street, November 4th, 2023, 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. with a rain date of November 11th. And where is my notes on this one? This, on behalf of Immaculate Conception Parish, Frank Altieri of Shoveltown Brewery has applied for a one-day beer and wine license for their parish fundraiser. To be held 193 Main Street on Saturday, November 4th from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. A rain date of November 11th, 2023 is also requested. A police detail is not required for the event. Frank couldn't be here tonight, so I'm just reading that on his behalf, but we can certainly vote on it. Any comments or questions?
Nope.
Okay. Craig?
I'd like to move that the Immaculate Conception Parish fundraiser, 193 Main Street, November 4th from 2023, from 5 p.m. to 11 p.m. with a rain date of November 11th, 2023.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Next up, we have the reaffirmation of the Easton Human Rights Committee statement in response to the humanitarian crisis in Israel. We had a lot of members of our community reach out to us over the past couple of weeks with all the impacts that are being felt through not just what's happening in Israel and Gaza, but also the Ukraine. And the Human Rights put out a statement about this, and I thought it was important for us to read this into our record to show our support for it. So, Craig, if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, I have the privilege of representing the Select Board on the Human Rights Committee, so I'm very happy to read this. On October 12, 2023, the Human Rights Committee issued a statement in response to the humanitarian crisis in Israel. Like many of you, members of the Town of Easton's Human Rights Committee have been following the humanitarian crisis that is unfolding as a result of the Israel-Hamas war. We are saddened and outraged about the atrocities committed by Hamas and vehemently condemn these acts of hate. We recognize some of our community members have personal connections in the area and are understandably concerned about their family, friends, and loved ones. Even those without direct ties to the region are likely impacted by the unspeakable acts of terror stemming from the news. While there may be differing views on the underlying conflict, we must be united in our rejection of such evil and steadfast in our commitment to a world which is free from bigotry, hatred, and intolerance. As has been true at other difficult times, we know you will support each other, and we urge anyone in need of additional support to make use of the resources listed on the Human Rights Committee page on the town website.
Thank you, Craig. So the Select Board appoints the Human Rights Committee, and we rely on them to make statements that impact things locally, sometimes globally, but because this impacts people in our community, they were very quick to issue this statement. And Dr. Cabral also issued a similar statement, but they attached resources to this so that people that wanted to learn more or understand more, there was actionable items with this, which is something that I thought was really, really great. So we hope this helps assure members of the community that we do still stand strongly behind our human rights, and this isn't really a political thing, with in any shape or form. It's really just considering the innocent people that are being harmed by these conflicts. So we don't have to vote on that or anything, but I just want to say I appreciate the great work that the Human Rights Committee has done. So next, Public Safety and Public Works Facility Replacement Project. We're going to hear the results of the October 23rd special town meeting and talk about the upcoming, the other half of our vote. So Connor, if you want to talk about that.
Sure, thanks, Dottie. So as we in the room know and the board is aware, voters approved the debt authorization Monday night to fund the new police, fire, and public works facilities in Easton, contingent on a successful debt exclusion override. So we really appreciate folks came out. More than 500 voters came out. Pretty long night. I think we're all there past 11. It was a really thoughtful discussion, and it was great to see that turnout and support for this really important project. And doesn't move forward yet. However, there's one more in the final kind of decision for voters that will be on Saturday, November 4th, from 10 to 4 o'clock at the Oliver Ames High School. Folks who want to vote in person have that option. There is still time if folks would like to use the no excuse vote by mail Applications for vote by mail are available at easton.ma.us/vote. They're also available hard copy in the town offices. The application for voting by mail needs to be received by 5 p.m. this coming Monday the 30th. We really recommend that if anyone is thinking about it, that they get that in as soon as possible, because after receiving it, it still needs to be, ballot needs to be processed and mailed. And at this point, anyone who is getting a ballot mailed to them, they're free to put it back in the mail, but we would strongly recommend they drop it in the ballot drop box located in front of the town hall, because any ballot, regardless of when it's postmarked, if it is not received by the clerk's office by the close of polls Saturday, which is 4 p.m. Saturday the 4th, it can't be counted. So if somebody has a vote by mail ballot, the surest way to make sure that vote is in and counted is to drop it off in the ballot box outside of town hall. So really appreciate the folks who came out, appreciate the multiple years that Andy Williams, chair of the Municipal Building Committee, all the members of Municipal Building Committee, police, fire chief, DPW director, this board, of course, have put into the project so far. And we hope there's a great turnout for the 4th, because it's a really, really consequential decision that, like we said, at town meeting is going to have an impact on the next 50 years of this community. So hope people go vote.
Excellent. Yeah, even picking up the applications is probably better or best if you could do that in the next day or two. And remember that Town Hall is closed at 11 on Fridays?
12:30.
12:30.
Yeah.
Shows how often I come up here.
That's okay.
So get here before 12:30 if you're coming up on Friday. So any comments or questions?
Yeah, I just want to say first thank you to all of the staff who were there supporting the events that night, and all the staff who put a ton of work into making sure that things went very smoothly. There was a long line around the building at one point, and everything was handled in an orderly fashion, and everyone got in and was able to have the discussion and vote. So that was fantastic. The feedback I've been hearing is that the presentation was really well prepared. And I just want to, also kind of reflecting on it later, I was thinking about the discourse in the room and how civil it was. Everyone kept their cool, and even though there are a lot of differing opinions, people were respectful, and I really noticed that after. So that's a really positive reflection, I think, on our community, that we can kind of work through complicated things and keep a calm head. So.
Thank you. Mark?
Yeah, much in the same vein as Jen had mentioned, thank you to Connor, all the department heads, everybody who's worked on this for years. I know that it has taken many, many hours away from family, and you guys have done an outstanding job, and I think that really came through on Monday night. Also, the discourse, the dialogue, whether people were for or against it, it was a respectful forum. And it was, it's so interesting. I spoke with so many people, some for it, some against it. And it's nice when you can be in a room with people you disagree with, but there's such respect in that room at the same time. And that was definitely an evening where that was put on display. It was one of the biggest things I saw. Somebody could get up and they could share their opinion in one direction, somebody goes up in the other direction, and they're chatting off on the side, like old buddies. It's nice to see that. We don't see that enough. So I thought that was fantastic. So kudos to you guys. Kudos to our town, and we'll see what happens on the 4th.
Great.
I said this to Connor that night, that I was so impressed with the presentation by Connor and the chiefs and Dave Field, that they were articulate, they were thorough, the videos were very impactful. And I talked to a few people who said that they were sitting with folks who had a position one way or the other. Some were originally in no, and as soon as they finished seeing that, they changed their vote. They decided this was absolutely necessary, which was very exciting to hear that kind of the result of that presentation. I had an opportunity to talk with Chief Partridge, who's retired now, but he was involved at the very beginning of the discussion. He was thrilled that we've gotten through the first step on this project. We have some work to do between now and the 4th of November to get people out to vote, but I think I'm feeling very confident that the people are going to respond to the need for this infrastructure change.
Well, it's a complex project, and we started looking at this in 2014 when we did the study with Doran Whittier for all our municipal buildings, and then, in earnest with the feasibility study a little bit more than 2 years ago. And like Craig said, before our former chief was here, and it's really hard to boil down all that information into a 1-hour presentation at town meeting and for people to absorb all that information so quickly. But for people to make an informed decision, they really need the information, because so many of the things that I saw out on social media or that people were saying were very misinformed. And if you just listened or watched anything on these during that time, you could get a feel for it. One of the best things that I think is the frequently asked questions on eastonpsw.com. Did I say that right? So if people are watching now and still didn't come to town meeting and see the presentation and want to vote on it, please look at those frequently asked questions. I'm sure they'll be helpful to you. Feel free to reach out to the select board office. If you want to get a tour of any of these facilities, knock on the door. I'm sure they will take you through. Once you see those, you can't unsee it. So it definitely makes a big impact. The other thing I wanted to just mention about town meeting is there were a lot of people that brought their children, which showed how committed and passionate people were about this. There were some students there that get extra credit, and I just want to say that I talked to a few of them in the hallway, and they were so polite and respectful, and it was a long night, and they were there for a long time. So shout out to the young people that worked hard to get that extra credit. And the other thing that's really important and personal to me is this was one of the first public meetings for a town meeting where we had listening devices for people that were hearing impaired. So if people at home are listening to this or watching this, we do have those available. And the meeting is broadcast live on cable. So if you have a device with you, they're closed captioned. So you might not see it in the room on the screen, but if you were in the room and you were watching from your phone or you brought a tablet, you'd be able to see closed captioning. So we're working really hard to make these meetings more accessible to people with different abilities. And the Commission on Disabilities was really advocating for this. So I want to congratulate them and ECAT for working together to make this happen.
I also want to say thank you to the schools because they helped a lot with the setup. Whether even just down to the very fine detail like lighting during presentations. Their tech team is awesome. Dr. Cabral, the school committee were super supportive of getting ready for town meeting, also the project in general. So we really appreciate that partnership.
Excellent. All right, great. Thank you for that update.
Oh, thank you.
All right, next we have contested appointment for Human Rights Committee. We have four people? Yes, that submitted applications, and we have 2 open seats with terms that expire June 30th, 2026. And the other one also expires June 30th, 2026. So before we even start with the interviews, I just want to say that this is one of the hardest things that we have to do is when we're interviewing people and there's not enough seats open. So the Human Rights Committee is an amazing committee, like many of the other ones that we have. You don't have to be a voting member to join those meetings and participate. So whoever is not able to be selected for this, we really encourage you to still stay involved with them. They have a mailing list that's really great, and it's important for people at home to know this. They'll send out emails when they have events or important statements that they want to make. So regardless if you ever are trying to get on the Human Rights Committee or not, for people at home, go onto their website and sign up for their mail list because they do share great information. So I'm just going to go by the order of the way it's listed in our packet. So I have Kristen Crowley is the first person. If you want to come up, Kristen. Thanks for being here.
Yes, of course.
And if you just want to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about why you want to be on the Human Rights Committee and what you know about them, and that's about it.
All right. My name is Kristen Crowley. I just moved to Easton. I was just talking to Mark before you guys got here 2 years ago. Human rights is something that I've just always been very passionate about. I grew up with an uncle with Down syndrome, so I was very involved with Special Olympics all through my childhood. I worked in restaurants for a long time after that, so lots of diverse people from Central America, South America. I got to really learn a lot about their struggles and why they were here, and the discrimination that they experience and things like that. The Palestine-Israel situation is something I've been following very closely. I love that the Human Rights Committee puts out a statement on that and puts out resources for people to get information on that. I think that that is really important. I actually had just listened to a podcast about the history of that area and why it's so contentious. And I'm glad that I had that background when this started happening, because I really am able to see what's going on and see both sides and see why it's such a big issue. And I think that right now, a lot of people don't have that information. And there is a lot of misinformation out there. There's a lot of stuff on social media. You said that, you see it. And it's just something that I'm really passionate about, and something that I would love to be able to come into my own community, know what the problems that people are facing are, the human rights problems, and be able to do something to help them. I can't mediate peace in the Middle East, but maybe I can help somebody in my own community. I think it's a really good place to start. So it's something that's a little bit outside of my comfort zone, but I thought I was on their mailing list and I saw that they were looking, and I said to myself, I think that this would be something that would be really good for me. So
Awesome. Terrific.
yeah.
Jen, do you want to start with any comments or questions?
I don't have any questions. I think you have, your passion is clear, and you have experiences that lend themselves to having a perspective. So I appreciate that, and thank you for putting yourself out there. It's a really difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
And like Dottie said, regardless of what happens, there's always opportunity. So
Yeah, I didn't know that you could go to the meetings.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's really good to know.
All our meetings are all public meetings,
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
And what people can do is if you go onto Documents on Demand on the front page of the website, and you click that, at the top of that next page, you can sign up to get notified of agendas for any of the committees that you want, and minutes. So if you're interested in finding out when their meetings are, generally, most committees meet regularly the same, the first Monday or the whatever of every month. So, but you can get notifications of those as well, so. Mark?
I have no questions. Thank you for being here tonight and putting your hat in the ring.
Craig?
The meetings are currently on Zoom, so it makes it a little bit easier if you have, 6:30 starting on, I think it's the first Tuesday of every month.
Okay.
Okay, so I just enjoy your enthusiasm. I don't have really a lot of questions to ask, but
Thanks.
thank you for taking the time to volunteer.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
All right, the next is Kiana Emmons. I apologize if I've mispronounced. Thanks for being here tonight.
No problem. Thank you for having me. My name is Kiana Emmons. I've been a homeowner and resident of Easton for a little over 3 years. I am a mother of 3 biracial children, and I'm here today because diversity and inclusion is often talked about, but you actually don't really see it. I think Easton has a lot of room for growth. As the world changes and as the social climate changes, we have to understand that it's no longer treat people how you want to be treated, it's treat people how they want to be treated. And you have to meet people where they're at. People want to know that their voice is being heard. They want to know that not only when they speak that it's being heard, but we're going to take action in the positive direction. And I just want to be a resource for that. Again, like I said, I'm a mother of 3 biracial males. My sons are 13, 11, and 8, and they are in the Easton school system. I came to Easton because I see that we're trending in the right direction in regards to diversity and inclusion, but we're not quite there. Human rights is rights for everyone, no matter what gender, race, sexual orientation, or religious belief. And again, I just want to be that, the resource for all, and I want to be a pillar of the change in Easton to make it a better place.
Great, thank you. Jen?
No questions, just similar. I really love your perspective. There's a lot of passion behind what you're saying, and I like that you're framing yourself as a resource, which is hugely value. And I also love that people who've been in town for just a few short years are putting their hat in the ring to volunteer. That's really awesome. So thank you for being here tonight.
No problem, thank you.
No questions. Thank you for being here.
Craig?
I have a question that is not to do with the Human Rights Committee, but what's the Rolling Pines Association? Can you?
Yeah, so that's my homeowners association.
Oh, okay.
So I'm one of the board members,
Okay,
yes.
all right. Okay, I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
No problem.
All right, and I'm just trying to scan
Actually, I do
through
have
your...
questions, but they have nothing to do with Human Rights Committee. but-
All right, and you know the dates and times from what Craig mentioned, and you would be able to meet those, what is it, I forgot already what you said, the second
fir-
Tuesday of the month?
First Tuesday of the month,
First
6:30 on Zoom right now.
Yep, that'd be no problem.
All right, excellent, thank you so much.
Thank you.
The next person is Robert Ettinger. Hello, Robert, thank you for being here tonight.
Thank you. I just want to start off by saying I've lived in town for 48 years, on Heath Road in the same house. And my wife and I we love Easton. And my background is in education. I worked in Randolph schools as a teacher, vice principal, became principal in Holbrook for 9 years, and then went down to Portsmouth, Rhode Island, was principal there for 8 more years. And so I'm a happy retiree and want to thank everyone for all the support for the pickleballers, because I'm an avid pickleball player. And
Are you good?
I'm okay. When you get to my age, you don't get any better.
Well, I'm saying that because pickleball seems to be super uber competitive.
Just one final comment. I could talk about pickleball all night, but we had a little end of the year gathering that we have at pickleball, and we had a tournament. And the team that won, the oldest person on the team was 87 years old.
Oh, wow,
Won the championship.
that's terrific.
And, he gets better and better every year. I don't know how he does it. But the reason that I applied for the committee is that it started when, and I can't believe all the years I've been here in town, but we went to the annual fair that they had this year. And, and when I was there, and my wife and I were so impressed by it, and when we were leaving, we had the little rainbow flags with us that they gave away, and we said, we felt really good. It was something, it was like a cleansing, that you just felt so good being there. And while we're crossing the road, we parked over across the street, and a car goes by and they're shouting profanities at us. And I said to my wife, we still have a long way to go, but it's a continuous progress. And so when I was there, I met one of my pickleballers, Kathy Foster, and I said to Kathy, well, let me know if some opening comes up on your committee. I think I'd really like to be involved. Since I've been retired, I worked in the animal shelter in the Brockton Easton line, and then COVID closed it down for the volunteers, and so with this committee, I saw something that I think maybe I can help to make a difference and make a connection with my town, and work with some like-minded people to continue to make it a great place that Easton is, but we can always be better.
Yep, I appreciate that. Jen, any comments, questions?
All I have to say is everyone's making this really, really difficult. Thank you so much for your story and your perspective, and I really appreciate that anecdote that ties back to your why. But no questions for me tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
I do have a question, Robert. Thank you for being here. You mentioned you've been here for 48 years. Would this be the first town committee you've ever been on?
Yes,
It would be.
yes,
Okay.
yeah.
Thank you.
I have gone to meetings, and but not been a part of it, just through some interest.
Never
Great.
too late to start.
Yeah, I
Love it.
first I have to echo what Jen just said. This is going to be a very difficult decision to make. Going just to pickleball for a second, a good friend of ours, played pickleball for the first time the other day and tore his Achilles tendon. So it's not as easy as people think it is.
Oh, he
apparently.
did here in Easton?
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was there that day.
Were you?
I know when he said it's my first day, and then
Oh, yeah.
it's terrible.
Oh, yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about Open Circle?
Yes. Yeah, Open Circle is a program that I was involved in when I was in Randolph. And Open Circle ties in with what we're talking about here, about teaching kids how to have respect for one another, how to help them to work together, to problem solve, and teaching them how to be able to get help when they need it and know who to go to ask for it. And it helps to promote a positive image in classrooms. Now, the Randolph Public Schools, when I was there, adopted it, and it was a requirement in all the elementary schools. And when I left Randolph, I brought the program to Holbrook, and of course, we had no money to start the program. And so I went out and went to all the churches in town, and I was able to recruit enough money. They asked me to come and speak, in front of for the different church groups, and we raised enough money to be able to get the program off the ground. And I did say to one of the pastors, he said, well, when we go to school committee, we'll tell them how much money we have and how we support this program, Bob. And I said, no, what I want you to do is tell them it's a matching grant. If they come up with the money, that we'll match the rest of it. And so we'll have even more money to be able to spend. And the school committee bought it. And I think it helped with the fact that when I was a teacher, I used to negotiate a lot of contracts. So I had a pretty good idea about how we could get the school committee to buy into it.
Well, that's a very wise investment, so I'm glad you encouraged them to do that.
Yeah, it's just a great program.
Thank you, Bob.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So the next candidate that we have is Kate Kelly. I don't see Kate here tonight, so I'll just give you a little bit of interest for her. So Kate interviewed with us the last time when we only had a couple of spots, and she is a teacher. She's currently earning her second master's degree, a Master's of Education in DEI. She teaches high school English in Canton and collaborates on text, diversity, and curriculum. She has her own professional development business called Understanding Identities, where she teaches educators and administrators in elementary, middle, and high school and surrounding districts. Her courses are Unpacking Whiteness and Unpacking Heteronormativity. She also has a passion for picture books and the powers of literature. She's been on committees at her school, the Student Response Team, DEI, interviews, and committees. A mom of 3 kids, 6, 5, and 3. She's her oldest Girl Scouts troop leader and has worked with all ages of children and educators in all grade levels. So this is the hardest part where we have to deliberate and select 2. Let's just pick one candidate at a time. And all 4 have exemplary credentials. So again, this is going to be difficult. But I will say Kiana has a real lived experience that I appreciate, and having 3 children in the schools, I think, gives a very different perspective as well. I know that our schools work really closely with the Human Rights Committee, and I think that Kiana would be a great candidate. So I'm not sure, do the rest of the board have any comments? Or
Agreed.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Craig, would you want to make a motion?
So I move that we appoint Kiana Emmons to the Human Rights Committee with a termination date of, what did we say, June 30th of 2026?
Yes.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb, so we need to take a roll call vote on this. We'll start with you, Jen.
Stacy Emmons.
Lamb Emmons.
Full Janetti Emmons.
Barger Emmons?
Okay. And for the second candidate, I appreciate, Kristen, and how you really articulated that you've done, put in the extra effort to learn about some of these conflicts that are happening, and somebody that is newer to the community that could have some different eyes on this. I'm not sure if anybody else has any Any thoughts or comments or suggestions or
On the next,
the next candidate?
Mr. Ettinger, I'd like to just share my thoughts on this gentleman. I like how you've been an educator. You said 48 years. I'm not bringing light to that. So you said 48. So you've seen an evolution of things over a long period of time. You've lived in town a long time, and Easton has changed dramatically over that time. So I grew up in Easton. I'm 43 years old. I remember being a kid, and it's very different now than it was then. It's going in the right direction. I appreciate how you've watched all of that and how you want to continue the direction it's going in. I appreciate your veteran views on all of these things, and here you are now. It would be your first time ever serving on a town committee, and so I support Mr. Ettinger in that because of his background and his this opportunity that you might not otherwise have.
Okay. Jen?
I was also leaning toward Mr. Ettinger as well, also for similar reasons. I really appreciated his background working with students and the perspective working in public schools, and and his story about kind of tying it all together really resonated as well. But that being said, this is so difficult that it's
100%.
Right.
very challenging to.
Craig?
I'm so glad I spoke first.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, I find it very, very difficult to make decisions when we have so many qualified people, but I think I can lean towards Mr. Ettinger as well. I'd like to see his perspective on the committee.
All right, and I want to again acknowledge Kate Kelly because, you heard her resume and she has amazing credentials as well. So, Jen, I love the story that you always tell. It always makes me feel
Can we tell it again?
Yes, please.
Okay, so moved to Easton back in 2017, and at my 1-year mark, I said, I'm going to go and volunteer. And one of my colleagues that I worked with was like, you should volunteer for finance committee. Looked online as an appointment available. Walked into that appointment. I had a bright red face, was nervous beyond words, and there were 3 of us up that night. And second I heard the first person speaking, I was like, oh, this is going to be really brutal. I go up to speak, and then the gentleman that follows me, everyone was amazing. So I crawl back to my seat, red-faced, and listen as the decisions roll in. And I didn't get appointed that night. Tim Vermosi, who's still in finance committee, got the appointment, and I'm so glad he did because he has been an incredible asset to the town. But on the way out the door, multiple people stopped and said to me, this isn't the end of the road for you here. And have you ever done an election before? And I was like, this is terrifying, no way. But I learned a little bit more about what that entailed and did it, and got elected to finance committee a couple months later. And here I am on select board now, and in my almost 3rd year. Very appreciative, learning every day. So, if I hadn't kind of tucked my pride away for a second, I wouldn't be where I am now, and I've learned so much, made great friends, and have been able to contribute to the community. So it's just a reminder that, I said to my child earlier, he was frustrated about something in school, and I'm like, it's not a failure, it's just an opportunity to pivot and learn and do something else. So, yeah, that's my story.
If I could, I remember that night vividly.
With my red face?
Well, not your red face, but I remember that night vividly, and I could see in your face the determination, and you went from being, not picked to years later at this board, and I
was
love
with you
the
on
story.
finance committee first, and
I love your story because you, in the face of adversity, you didn't get what you wanted, and you just didn't stop. And the lesson is, if you don't get what you want, don't stop.
And all 3 of us who went for that appointment that night ended up serving the community. So, yeah.
Yeah, and we very much appreciate your role in the select board. So,
Well, thank you. I'm happy to be here.
So in addition to that great story, there's often change in Human Rights Committee as well as the other ones because people can do it for a certain amount of time and things change in people's lives. But there's also other committees where things come up from time to time. So we appreciate hearing the story in the background because I can't tell you how many times I'll see an opening and I'll remember somebody who said something in one of these meetings and reach out and say, would you be interested in, Recreation Commission, you play pickleball, like I'm gonna remember those things. So we appreciate that as well. So Craig, if you'd like to make a motion.
I move that we appoint Robert Ettinger to the Human Rights Committee for the termination date of June 30th, 2026.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Barger and Lamb. Roll call vote.
Stacy Ettinger,
Lamb, Ettinger.
Full Janetti Ettinger.
Barger, Ettinger.
Okay. So you will receive an email from the town clerk giving you instructions on how to get sworn in and what the meeting dates are. And just suggest to you, if you go onto Minutes on Demand on the website, take a glance through some of the minutes and the agendas and just familiarize yourself. And all those meetings, are they broadcast on ECAT or not?
Yes.
They are?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
So you might be able to look them up on ECAT as well.
Yeah.
I did look at quite a few of them already, so.
Awesome.
But thank you. so much.
And Kristen, thank you very much
Yes.
for coming tonight. And don't follow what Jen was saying.
we're gonna see more of you. I know it.
This is
love to join in on the meetings and just,
Yeah.
Okay,
Absolutely.
this is the beginning, not the end.
definitely. She spoke and I was like, oh no. So, yeah, so it's good.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it,
all.
everyone being
Thank you
here
all
tonight.
for applying. We appreciate it.
Time for Celtics game.
Okay, next we have the Taxation Aid Committee, Daniel Hickson, with a term, wait a second, let me just get back to where I am here. Daniel Hickson is volunteering for the Taxation Aid Committee, and the term expires June 30th, 2026. Is Daniel Hickson here?
He is not, but
Is
it's uncontested, and his application is in your packet.
Actually, I should have looked at this list that Elizabeth gives me to confirm who's going to be here or not. So, so he does have a great resume here. Let me just see.
CPA.
Whoops, hold on a second.
Well, that's a feather in his cap for this committee.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yes, he's got a bachelor's and master's degree in accounting from Babson College, also a licensed CPA in the state of Mass. So he's a director at a large accounting firm in Boston, PricewaterhouseCoopers, and interested in using his professional skill set to help the community of Easton. The Taxation Aid Program is a great program used to assist our elderly and disabled community. So we're really happy that he has offered to volunteer. I love all the new names and faces of people, so really happy about that. So Craig, if you'd like to make a motion?
Move to appoint Daniel Hickson to the Taxation Aid Committee with a term expiring on June 30th, 2026.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, and a roll call vote.
Stacy Hickson,
Lamb, Hickson.
Full Janetti Hickson.
Barger, Hickson.
Great, thank you. Congratulations to Mr. Hickson. So next we have a review of the proposal to purchase town-owned land, 360 Washington Street, otherwise known as Moreau Hall. So we're going to have a presentation by about the Stonehill College proposal to purchase Moreau Hall, discussion and a possible vote related to the Select Board's qualitative ranking of proposal, discussion and possible votes to award the sale to Moreau Hall to qualified proposer, to the qualified proposer contingent upon final negotiations of the P&S agreement.
Sure, thank you, Dottie. So exciting night, as the board will recall, in July of this year, following Moreau Hall being vacated over the holidays as kids moved into the Blanche James Elementary School. In July, you published a request for proposals from private parties to purchase the former Moreau Hall Elementary School after town meeting authorized you to do so. Proposals were due September 12th. The town received one responsive proposal that was from Stonehill College. A copy of their full proposal was provided to the board. The kind of summary of it is hard copy in front of you tonight. Pursuant to the RFP, Easton and Granite City Partners reviewed the proposal to ensure compliance with minimum standards of the RFP. Attached in your packet, and again, hard copy in front of you for each of you, is a qualitative scoring sheet based on the criteria that we made public for anyone interested at the time of bidding. And there's also a memo from Holly Roach Robinson noting that the proposal meets all of the kind of yes-no minimum criteria, leaving only the qualitative assessment. You, as the Select Board, are the review committee for the qualitative assessment. There is a scoring matrix available for you. Granite City Partners are here to assist as well, and we invited representatives from Stonehill College to come tonight and just give an overview of the kind of broad strokes of their proposal. After we hear from the representatives from Stonehill College, the board can ask any questions you feel are helpful. And then myself, Joe, and Holly will be on hand to provide any feedback or support on your qualitative ranking of the proposal.
Okay.
So if our guests from Stonehill would like to join us and introduce yourselves and
Good evening. My name's Jean Finlayson. I'm the Financial Vice President at Stonehill College.
And I'm Tom Flynn. I'm the Vice President and General Counsel for the college.
Thank you for being here tonight, both of you.
Thank you. Thank you for having us. So we're pleased to be here tonight to have the opportunity to talk with you regarding Stonehill's proposal to purchase 360 Washington Street, Moreau Hall. So some of you might know the connection that Stonehill has to Moreau Hall. First, the land that it's built on was originally owned by the Congregation of Holy Cross of priests who also founded Stonehill College. And then the building, Moreau Hall, was built by the Holy Cross Brothers, who also are a organization under the Holy Cross organization. So by Stonehill purchasing this building, we feel that we're able to kind of maintain that history of the building and also continue to use it as an educational building. We do know for the last 40 years it has been an elementary school, and we know how kind of dear that is to the town of Easton, and we do want to preserve all of that history, both in the original ownership and then in the hands of the town for the last 40 years. So as we did put in the proposal, the college does want to use the building for an educational purpose. We don't know yet the actual usage. So we are in discussions with our board on how we will use it. We do know that it will both be used for the college and for visitors, so outsiders who would visit the building. Because one of the major initiatives that we're looking at for the building is to use it also as kind of a way that the community can learn about the history both of Easton and Brockton. So we have several collections at the college that we would like to possibly house in the building. That is obviously the Ames Shovel collection. We also have the Stanley Boehm photography collection, and we have the Brockton shoe collection. So those would be kind of primary. We also are the repository to federal documents and state documents that we could also house in the building, and that would be available for guests to come in and research those usage. The building is also envisioned to have additional classrooms. We would have large gathering spaces, conference room, and so forth. So very open, kind of welcoming building that anybody could use for any purpose. So part of our timeline that we've been discussing and that's in the packet, we are going to have a Board of Trustees retreat for our next planning cycle. So that will happen in January. This building will be a main focus of that discussion. It will be part of our next strategic plan that the college is planning, and that strategic plan will commence for July 2026. That will be the start of our next plan. We do also are looking to use the building right now as temporary space. So we do want to move, if we're the purchaser, we do want to clean out the building, remove anything that's in there right now, and then use some temporary spaces for some offices. We have some needs for our dance clubs to use the gymnasium, and then we will probably bring some of the archival material over to the building in the first part of the phasing. After that, we will do, our plan is to do a phased construction project. So we would commence in 2026 and then do basically a three-phase project of coming in and doing some of the major work, HVAC and all that has to be replaced, then doing some of the exterior facade. So we do estimate that we're going to spend between $10 and $15 million to renovate the building, to bring it to the state that we want to. It will be in the Georgian architectural style that many of our buildings on campus are. So it'll remain a brick building with white columns and white facade on it. So I open it up to questions that anyone has on our proposal.
I would just like to add quickly before the board has any questions that the concept of the kind of interim swing use, we have worked with Granite City, but also our code officials, and they are comfortable with that approach as far as what Stonehill is contemplating for the more immediate use, while the planning and design for the, I suppose, permanent renovation project is ongoing.
Jen?
So the archival aspect would be storage in the first phase, not publicly accessible,
Not
and then
publicly.
later on, that maybe is one of the considered uses, is having that.
That is
Okay.
correct, yes. We do need to kind of move some things off campus to do some renovations on campus to some other spaces.
Okay.
Mark?
Everything you outlined sounds incredibly exciting. I do have one question, and I can't recall if this was allowed, disallowed, or in the RFP. Are you looking to add onto this building? Is that, or are you looking to keep the footprint the same but just renovate within?
Correct. We are not going to add to the building. We're going to keep the footprint as is.
Okay, excellent.
And the exterior is just gonna be cleaned up and but it's gonna be left basically.
So we're going to, it will remain named Moreau Hall because that is our founder of the congregation. So it will continue to keep that name. So the exterior, the front columns, those will be replaced with white architectural columns. And so it will look more white than it does a beigey.
It'll match.
It'll match our architecture that we have on campus.
Stonehill does not have a reputation for unsightly buildings.
No, we don't.
So,
Anything else, Greg?
I'm just thinking that the timing, you're comfortable with the timing to begin the actual renovation of it to 2026?
Yes, I mean the without getting into the specific performance deadlines, which are being negotiated as part of a purchase and sale agreement pursuant to the board's position at your prior meeting. One of the main objectives taking Stonehill out of any specific proposer out of the contemplation of sale of property is that somebody's taking basically beneficial ownership of it and starting to take responsibility and upkeep of it. And this proposal would accomplish that actually, I think, faster than we otherwise may have anticipated, because the swing use, the kind of interim use would be functional. It sounds quite immediate following the negotiation of the PNS and closing process.
So the reason that we had that clause in there in the first place is we don't want people to land bank properties and just buy them and sit on them and let them deteriorate,
Right,
which
yeah,
is not what we ever thought Stonehill would do.
No, it wouldn't.
But where it's just something that we have had happen in the past, and we just wanted to make sure that consistently across the board that is something that's highlighted, and we can negotiate some of the terms of that, but the 2026 date to me is very realistic, because they have a lot of steps to go through to get to that, to talk to their trustees and allocate the financing and do the design and all that stuff. So that sounds like a very aggressive schedule to me.
And I think just for the public's benefit, without wading into executive session content, because this was clear in the public RFP, what we're talking about here, the post-closing agreement, that, as was in the RFP, the exact dates of that were always contemplated as negotiable, but not the existence of such a clause. And that's not something that this proposal doesn't suggest departure from a post-closing agreement for performance.
Okay. That's all I have.
So I don't have any questions, but I do want to comment and just say, that I was involved in all this negotiation through the whole thing. And, me and this board and Connor and our staff really appreciate the relationship with Stonehill, with Father Denning particularly, with both of you and the rest of the team and the trustees. It makes it a very beneficial relationship for both of our organizations, and very happy to see that you were a respondent. I love what you think what you're intending to do with the space, and your sensitivity to keeping it in line with what works for our community as well. So, I mean, it's a win-win for everybody.
It is. We're very excited about it.
Yep, and some people, just to dispel the rumor, which I always thought was true, is we didn't just get Moreau Hall. The town bought Moreau Hall back in the 80s. So to be able to get that property back, I'm sure, is a big relief to Stonehill, because to keep that as part of, bring that back as part of the campus is really
I
great.
think Father Denon, he certainly has stated that, it started as something that was a building that was stewarded by the congregation. It was stewarded well for 40-plus years by the town of Easton, so there's something about completion of a circle for it to come back
Right,
to the college now.
exactly. All right, Connor, where do we go from here?
Provided there's no further questions for the representatives from Stonehill, then the board can move into the next portion of this item, which would be the qualitative ranking of the proposal. So happy to walk through that with Joe and Holly.
Sure.
You each have.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Each member of the board has, and I would ask you to fill it out as you go, a scoring sheet prepared by Granite City Partners. This is in accordance with procurement law, where you basically can tally the points from each section. We could walk through them one by one if you'd like.
Sure.
Based on what was publicly listed in your RFP. So the criteria for scoring, the first section was the purchase price. And so the kind of content there is the extent to which the proposal will provide financial benefit to the town of Easton. The proposal does match the appraised value for purchase at $2.3 million. So that would put it at advantageous.
I'm sorry, what was the appraised value?
$2.3 million. So that is what the proposal is. So that would be advantageous. That's what we're calling it, qualitative. It's not in dispute. So happy if there's any discussion, but otherwise we can move right on.
Yep.
Adaptive reuse of a property. Again, while developing the RFP, we tried to make sure that, from a technical perspective, when you develop an RFP, you want to make sure that the categories of highly advantageous, advantageous, et cetera, don't have overlap and bleed in between, so it can be clear. So I'm happy to kind of advise what I think the proposal meets, but if you just start at the top of highly advantageous, the public-facing facade is to be restored and substantially maintained. And the proposed development plan includes any of the other criteria in Section 6.4 of the RFP. What Section 6.4 of the RFP included was preservation of the building, potential educational or civic uses, potential public access, such as for conference space, or as the representatives indicated, access to archives. So again, I think highly advantageous is fair there, but if the board would like to discuss, or has any questions for Joe or Holly or I?
No, I think highly advantageous is appropriate.
Okay. The next section is experience and qualifications of respondent team. So again, a lot of this would lean on the proposal package from the college, which again, a hard copy is available. You have the digital copy, but a hard copy is available in front of you. Stonehill has done quite a bit. I'm sorry having this conversation right in front of you. It probably feels a little bit strange, but open meeting law being what it is.
Well, we know that they can build beautiful buildings,
Yes.
state-of-the-art buildings, and have kept that property, just in beautiful condition, from everything from buildings to landscaping. So the team that was in the packet.
Yes, as well as their experience. So, in order to achieve highly advantageous, a proposal has to demonstrate the respondent has the intent and ability to expeditiously advance permitting and other diligence, minimize project delay with at least 3 examples of other projects of this scale and complexity, with at least 1 project involving land acquisition. So they give 4 examples: Sally Blair Ames expansion, May Hall, Meehan Hall, Residence Hall upgrades. I don't think any of those involved acquisition of land, but I do know that Stonehill has acquired land. I think Belmont Street was acquired. So they also have a record of acquisitions being delivered successfully. So
Okay.
again, if there's any.
Yeah, I think
Or Joe.
Joe Shea with Granite City Partners in Holly Roach. I'd also chime in, they included their prospective development team, the SLAM Collaborative, Bond Brothers, very well-known academic, educational designers, engineers, and contractors.
Okay, thank you,
In
Joe.
terms of their understanding of how to move forward, that was clearly represented or demonstrated in the proposal.
Excellent. All right. Financial capacity?
Financial capacity, proposal must include evidence of financial status of respondent and the financial strength to carry out a proposal. Their package clearly evidences cash financing.
Can't get better than that.
Yeah, sure. Yes, so they have that is, again, that's quite clear. So that would be a highly advantageous section. Community benefit. The kind of in prompt there is the extent to which the proposal or program plan make available benefits to the Easton community, including but not limited to, these were just examples, but parking or pedestrian availability to other areas, or use for community rooms of the interior or the grounds. So we heard tonight, as well as in the supplement that was provided by the college, potential conference space or meeting rooms, access to archives. So I think that's kind of up to the board whether you pick 1, 2, 3 elements count. That's up to you. I would ask that whatever it is you pick, you discuss amongst yourselves and.
Yeah, I think that Stonehill's always been very generous with their resources in their partnership with the town. So I feel like this just aligns with what we've already experienced. Anyone have any
I think that
comments?
the ability to use the facility up and until we have our new police, fire, and DPW facility for community meetings and stuff is really important. I think that that's a credit to Stonehill that they're thinking about that for us.
Excellent. All right, and the management plan?
Management plan is the prompt is property management plan, including items such as but not limited to site upkeep, repairs, maintenance. I'm trying to find the exact section, but they note the $2 to $3 million of facilities R&M that they complete every year. They obviously maintain and operate an in-house facilities maintenance operation. I think they employ a police department, so it's pretty hard to beat that kind of campus security. So I think it'll be managed by facilities, daily oversight, grounds maintenance, custodial coverage, campus police monitor the property 24/7. So it's pretty hard to view that as anything except highly advantageous. But
And there was part where it's public access was explained and how that fits into the proposal.
Yes.
So, okay. Any questions, comments? All right.
So I suppose, Dottie, not to put you on the spot, but your chair, if you would like to, because we do need to get written assessments from the board, and while I'm not sure procurement law gets into the detail of whether they all need to be identical or not from a review committee, that's fair enough. So then, Joe, Holly, do you recommend that the board read through specifically which of these categories they've checked on each, or?
No, I do not. This has actually been the most transparent version of this exercise I've ever done, and we've done dozens and dozens. The goal of this process is to weigh the relative options, the relative opportunities, any challenges and risks. We received a very thorough, competent response.
We did.
So you're working between shades of highly advantageous and advantageous. Here, I think you need not belabor too much of an activity out of it.
Well, I think this is one of probably the easier ones also, because first of all, there's one respondent, and second of all, it's a respondent that we have a good relationship with and has a good track record already. So we're not really dealing with an unknown or a variable in that regard. So, so do we have to add these up, or do we just call out what our total was? Or?
Everybody fill your sheets in, indicate your name on the top, sign them, and you can hand them back in at the end. And the next item on your agenda would be, to your point and Joe's point, since there is only one responsive proposal and they're just shades of highly advantageous and advantageous. If the board is willing, you could have a discussion and a possible vote, a contingent award of the sale to Stonehill as the qualified proposer, contingent upon the final negotiation of the purchase and sales agreement, if that's what you would like to do.
What do you think?
Absolutely. I can think of no better purchaser of this property than Stonehill College. I think this is fair and equitable. It benefits Stonehill, it benefits the community. Its use benefits the community, its architectural structure. I mean, everything about this is fantastic.
Excellent. Craig?
So why don't we let Mark make the motion then, because...
Well, I just have a question about the, so walk us through how the final negotiations work, Connor, and does that come back to us again, or is it?
Yes, Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but that is based on your prior direction. This is just this is effectively for public record that provided we are able to reach mutually agreeable terms in the ongoing purchase and sale negotiation, that the board would, your intent would be to award the sale to Stonehill. Sale to Stonehill, sorry. This is already like hour 40 of this week. But the negotiated purchase sale would come back to the board for review and approval before that occurred.
Okay. And
did I get that correct?
That is correct.
Awesome.
There's some smaller details we're working through, Title V assessment, and some polishing details as with any transaction.
So so would you characterize that any of these changes would be unsubstantial? Is that how I would say it?
Agreed.
So
Yes,
it would
that's
really
a good
be
thing.
kind of like clerical,
Yes, the non-material issues that we're
yeah.
facing at this point.
Okay.
But we want to make sure at closing, it's a competent document, and
Right.
especially with the municipal closing.
That's right. That the board has had full opportunity to review.
So the motion is the intent to sell.
It's a contingent. Yes, it's a award the sale of Moreau Hall contingent upon final negotiation of the purchase and sale agreement.
Okay. I'll make a motion for the sale of Moreau Hall to Stonehill College contingent upon the
Final negotiation of the purchase and sale agreement.
of purchase and sale agreement.
Second.
So that's Lamb and Barger. All in favor? Unanimous. Do we have to do that as a roll call vote by any reason? I just had a weird thought because it's a it's a real estate transaction.
You
No.
want this now, or do you want it later?
Whenever it's finished, but why don't we take it at the
Pass
end?
it in now.
Fair enough.
Do you need written comments at the bottom, or is this sufficient? There's a comment section.
No, we do not.
Okay.
Craig, you want to pass these over?
Try to do this when you get 12 submissions.
I don't want to do the math. All right, great, excellent. So, thank you for the.
We'll be in
Thank you
touch.
for all your
Thank
hard
you.
work, Joe and Holly.
Yes, thank you. We really appreciate this. It's been a really pleasant process, and you've really, advised us in a way that was patient and understanding, and you did a great job.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
There you go, buddy.
All right, next we have contract awards for the Department of Public Works. The first one we have is DPW 2022-12, change order number 3, Calgon Corporation, and this is for the water treatment exchange for PFAS.
Sure. Thank you, Dottie. So while Deputy Director Swan and Water Operations Manager Rich Tierney take the seats, contract in front of you is a change order for the 2 out of 3 of our PFAS plants. As the board is aware, thankfully DPW had the foresight halfway through this project to consider a switch from all granular activated carbon media to include an ion resin exchange, because this is a newer technology. That one has worked great. GAC has not, and so we've worked out a negotiated change order basically for the supply cost differential to bring the other 2 filter plants into the ion exchange resin model and get those fully operational, hopefully by November, the end of November, I believe.
Yep.
Is that correct?
3 weeks?
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Any comments or questions, Jen?
No comments or questions. I know the community is eagerly awaiting the completion of this, and you've done a masterful job of getting us there, so thank you.
I echo that, and this is, we have to do this.
Yes.
So there's really no question, and thank you for all your work up to this point, and I'm sorry that it's going to add 196 days, or wherever I read that.
That actually just catches us up to 3 weeks from now.
Okay.
So it's not.
So it's only...
It's only 3 more weeks. We're in the
more
process right now. Schedules are being lined up. We've already started the operation of changing over the filter materials. This will just, help us cross our T's and dot our I's and get the
What's going to happen with the old filter materials? Do we get any credit for that?
It's factored into this cost.
Okay.
So
Okay.
that's part of the gamesmanship that we've been dealing with Calgon with.
Okay.
So they're taking it away. They're giving us this the resin material. That's the total cost.
Understood.
And they take the GAC, granular activated carbon, away. We get the resin. We get the plants online, and we're finally in compliance with DEP regulations.
Outstanding.
So you pre-ordered the materials?
It's part of the process. We came to an agreement with this, and it's on its way.
Oh, okay.
And and Wes has their change order to prepare the filter plants to prepare for
Yeah, there
this
was
material.
additional filters that go with this resin material. There's a pre-filter that has to be installed, so all that piping and accessories had to be done first before the old carbon is removed from the existing filters, and the following week, the resin will be installed in those filters. And we'll then have the DEP in to approve it all and sanction us to go online.
and Rich is going to take 4 months off of work. Rich has been managing $26 million of water plant construction basically from the first day he started the job. So I never want to miss an opportunity to thank you to Rich and all of DPW.
I'll miss seeing you drive by my house every day. So.
We can still do that. That's not a problem.
Well, then it's going to switch to operations, but I didn't want to rain on the parade.
So one of the things that I think is important to note is that, Easton loves to be the second or third to do things, not the first, because the first has to really take the test of how to do these things. And we were really first at the top of the line to develop these 3 water treatment facilities. And it's hard to get all the materials. It's sometimes trial and error on the kind of materials, and that's what happened with 2 of these plants. So the one that is running now is testing at non-detectable rates of PFAS. Correct?
Correct.
That's what I thought I was
You hit it
told.
right on the head.
Okay. I got nervous there because I don't want to throw you under the bus if I'm wrong. But I thought I remembered you telling me that. And, I know that when I've talked to other communities and they talk about what is the acceptable PFAS level, I was, in a conversation about this a couple of weeks ago with people that I was surprised really didn't know that much about PFAS. And they were saying, they're trying to build their treatments to meet the low threshold amount when you really should be building them the way that we are to have zero. There's no safe level of PFAS. That said, PFAS is in every single thing that we have, so where we can reduce it, better, but people really need to be diligent about what they're doing with their own products. Everything, like I said, has it. You can now shop and look for pots and pans that don't have PFAS that will actually say it, because we did replace some of ours. And, with furniture, with dental floss, with makeup, with shampoos,
Clothes,
clothes.
everything.
It's in rainwater.
rainwater.
It's in rainwater, and so this is a big step forward, but I just don't want people to be thinking, oh, we're cured, like this is it, we don't have to worry about it anymore. But it's really up to us as consumers to look at how we're buying single-use plastics that have PFAS in it and things like that. So I really want to thank you for doing such a great job with this. I'll just note that the change order is in the amount of $454,802, and that is being funded through the available project contingency. So, so the money is there to do that, and I'm excited about these coming online. This was a big question when we were at the sheep pasture at the NRT festival. When people kept coming up to us, they were asking questions about the municipal buildings, the new police, fire, and DPW proposal. And the next question is, when are the PFAS plants going to be ready? So,
When can I start drinking the water? That's what I heard.
yeah,
We made promises and we're getting close now.
that's excellent. And I know it's been a lot of work. So, like Connor said, thank you very much for all the extra time and hours that went into this. So, Craig, would you like to make a motion?
Move to approve DPW 2022-12, change order number 3, Calgon Corporation, water treatment exchange for PFAS.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay. So the next one is DPW 2024-11, and this is for Morton Salt.
Thank you, Rich.
Thank you,
Thanks, Rich. This is for Morton Salt for road, snow, and ice removal products.
This is our annual salt bid. We have to, winter's coming, we have to be prepared. This is our contract to make sure that we have a sufficient amount of salt in storage to be able to fight any winter conditions that arise, be it from our brine system or salting of the roads, pre-treatment, post-treatment, whatever situation may arise. There are 2 contracts that are listed here, one for Morton Salt, one for Eastern Minerals. We do that so if Morton can't deliver salt, we can go to the second bidder and get what we need to make sure that we can get the schools, get the roads open in time, do the work that we need to do to make sure the community can function during a snowstorm.
That was a big problem a few years ago when we had big storm and everybody had to go get more salt.
The
And
state commandeered everybody's salt, and we had to, I don't want to say beg, borrow, and steal, but it was touch and go. I was in Newton at the time, but everybody gets shivers and shudders when they start thinking about that particular winter. Hopefully that was a once-in-a-lifetime situation.
I hope so too.
But we'd like to be prepared, so.
But you know, this is how you learn by running into those problem-solving opportunities, we'll say, right? All right. Any comments or questions?
Is the contract based on how much is actually like procured of the salt, or is it is this like a cap, essentially ceiling?
Yeah, it's price per ton.
Okay.
How many tons can we sell? Eastern Salt, Morton Salt's contracted for an estimated quantity, 2,500 tons, and they give us a price. And then Eastern Mineral for an estimated quantity, 1,500 tons, and that's their price.
Okay.
And that's how the bid worked. So as you can see, they're the lowest of the 2 lowest bids of 5.
Yeah.
We're pretty confident that 4,000 will cover us for the winter, hopefully.
Yes.
Good. Thank you.
It's a bold yes.
Well, am I confident? Yes.
Our Farmer's Almanac is not looking too nice this year.
Just curious, how much has salt increased from last year?
Actually, these prices are down a little bit.
Wow.
Okay.
So not just marginal. Last year with the economy fluctuates.
Enough said. Let's not
Yeah,
talk
to
about
say
it
it's
anymore.
down.
Yeah. Let's
Thumbs
go.
up.
That's right, that's right.
Okay.
This is to answer your question. This is about what we pay.
Okay. Great.
So do we do separate motions, or we do one motion for both, or how do you want to?
I would do a separate motion for each
Okay.
contract.
So I move to approve DPW 2024-11, Morton Salt, road, snow, and ice removal products in the amount of $150,525.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous.
Move to approve DPW 2024-12, Eastern Minerals, road, snow, and ice removal products in the amount of $99,750.
Second, Lamb.
That's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Okay, and the next DPW 2024-15 is Weston and Sampson for Town Hall Historic Landscape Rehabilitation Plan.
This is part of our ongoing efforts to restore Town Hall. As you may have noticed when you walked in, we recently replaced the septic field out on the side of the building. The original system was in place from 100 years ago. It was time to get that replaced. We had some modified plumbing, put a brand new field in. the exterior repair project that's been going on for the last 2 years with the rehabilitated windows and doors and exteriors is coming to a close. We're hoping to wrap that up soon. But taking a look at the grounds are in, I won't say kind of a mess, but they've been neglected. The idea behind this particular project is to bring Weston Sampson in, who is a qualified landscape architectural firm with a background in historic properties, to come in, review all of our existing documentation for way the property was originally laid out in its historic manner, and then make recommendations on how we can improve it. We have some features on the ground that are very popular. After we restored the wellhead cover located on the other side of the grounds, I've noticed that people coming to Town Hall to get married are flocking over there to take pictures. We can improve the grounds dramatically to make it more, I don't want to say, well, yeah, welcoming to our community. We can have a place that's a destination for people to come, and if they want to walk or read a book or, you know, stroll about, we can make that happen. I'm not a landscape architect, I'm an engineer. My tendency is to pave and put pipe in the ground, and that's not the right way to do it. So Weston and Sampson will come in, we'll have a series, they'll do a review of all available documentation, we'll have several community workshops where all the stakeholders in town can come in and give their input to their ideas. They'll come up with some concepts, we'll meet again. It's looking like it's going to be a 4 to 6 month process, and we'll come up with a master plan. They're going to recommend which trees to come down, they're going to recommend what to plant, where should we put paths, what kinds of paths should we put in.
Specimen plantings.
Specific plantings, and we're going to do it also.
Gardens.
Stormwater gardens, you know, to meet, you know, MS4 and DEP requirements to improve runoff. So we're kind of taking, you know, trying to incorporate all of these concepts and all of these ideas in one master plan. When that's complete, we'll see what it looks like, and I'm fairly confident that a proportion of the work to be done can be accomplished by DPW forces to help reduce cost on actually making this happen. But this is the first step, is to get all the ideas on paper and see what it looks like.
I would just like to add, you know, part of going through, you know, the outreach for police, fire, public works facilities, one of the questions that came up occasionally was, you know, well, what's next, and what about town hall? And I said, when was the last time you went to town hall? And for some people, it's pre-COVID. I said, you really got to go back. You know, this building's in the best shape it's been in decades, easily. Between CPA funds, in-house work, I'd like to credit Public Works, a full drainage system, septic, installed entirely with in-house labor from Public Works, which is amazing. You know, the CPA restoration of the exterior, without even having gotten to the grounds yet, noticed, you know, folks not only coming in for weddings, which, you know, is not atypical, even the interior rooms like this are beautiful, to get married by the town clerk, but a lot more folks now going outside again, the restored wellhead. I believe local, was it an ironworks from Easton that did that restoration?
Yes.
DeAngelis?
Yes.
So local business doing a full historic restoration of the iron, ornamental iron on top of the wellhead. Noticing folks taking engagement photos outside. And so you going forward and with this grounds project, I think, you know, the town hall is actually a larger place, and it seems like, you know, almost 9 acres.
All right. 8.9 acres.
It's almost 9 acres of space. So to continue to make it accessible and welcoming, you know, it's great for folks who have to come here for business, but it's the public's building, right? And so just kind of adding to the already really impressive inventory of public free spaces that everyone is welcome at is really a special thing. And I appreciate DPW working on it. So I think that'd be great.
I'd also like to note that we also had a grant from the Mass Historical Commission that upon completion of this project, they will be giving us $30,000 back.
Wow.
It is a refund, so it's kind of working all in our favor to move this project along.
And thank you to planning, I assume, on
Yes.
that. Yes.
Stephanie and Wayne have been very
awesome.
helpful in moving this project forward.
And I'm not sure if this is still the case, but I think when we talked about landscaping, or I heard it at one point, we were going to try to have some of the project Olmsted inspired or
That's the idea.
connected.
We have pictures of what the original grounds look like There were rose gardens. It was majestic.
Yeah.
We can't do that. The grounds are reduced in size to what they were.
Right.
And there's only so much we can do. However, we will be leaning towards historical, what we can do in historical fashion, but we also can't bring in invasive species.
Right.
They may have used some flora or fauna that, you're not supposed to bring in and use on property. So
Well, that's why I say inspired by, like a
Yes,
nod to
absolutely.
it, so kind of in the same feeling.
One of the things I would like to see is we're on Elm Street. Are there any elms on Elm Street? They died off in the plague went through decades ago and wiped most of the elms out in this part of the country. There are now resistant strains of elm trees that we could potentially plant if it's feasible and bring that back.
Great.
Just one idea. So there's a lot of opportunity here to do something special with these grounds and make it a centerpiece for the town again.
Yeah. Well, I think that, we have so many beautiful spaces in town and open spaces, and it shouldn't be like putting plastic on the furniture. Like, we have this beautiful room, but you can't sit in it, right? So the best way to make use of these beautiful spaces is to use them. And, the possibilities are endless. I know Wings of Hope has movies in Frothingham Park now. Like, so we could have movie nights here. We could have pizza parties on the lawn. Like, we could do all kinds of fun stuff out here for activities, or like you say, there could be a place where people stop to read a book, or so I really would love to see this property used, and I'm sure the Ames family, that donated this or sold it to the town, whichever, I'm sure that they too would love to see the property being used to its fullest. So this is great. All right, Craig, you want to make the motion?
And the amount of the project is?
$60,000.
Oh, 60,000. Okay, so I move to award contract DPW 2024-15 Weston and Sampson Town Hall Historic Landscape Rehabilitation Plan, the amount of $60,000.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. Thank you, Greg.
Thank you.
See you, Greg. Thank you.
See you.
All right, next we have an acceptance of 2 donations to the fire department from June Cowart and Stephen and Carol Green. So the Greens have been a real strong supporter of our public safety personnel. They've made donations in the past, and June Cowart, we really appreciate the donation contribution from June, as well as Steve and Carol. And there's a thank you letter in our packet. So we do have to make a vote to accept these. So Craig, if you'd like to do that.
Individually or together?
I think we can do it together for this.
I see no reason why not.
I move to accept the 2 donations, one from June Cowart and the other from Stephen and Carol Green, total amount of $1,100.
Second, Lamb.
So that's Bodger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. And thanks again for the very generous
Absolutely.
donations. So next, number 11, we need to review and sign the November 13th special town meeting warrant.
That is right. The
Town meeting
town
again.
meetings will continue until morale improves. You have another town meeting. We have another town meeting on November 13th. Monday, All Raves High School for our regular fall business. We broke that out into 2 pieces because we anticipated, I will say correctly, that the building project town meeting could potentially go on for a full evening and did not want to ask folks to stay until 1 in the morning. So we have a brief but nonetheless important warrant in front of you. We've itemized the items that we would ask for you to take votes to include and in most cases recommend, and I can kind of quickly go through them,
Sure.
along with Finance Director Nightingale and Planning and Economic Development Director Danielson. The first item on the warrant is a transfer to a stabilization fund. The town adopted, and I printed out a nice little graph for everyone tonight. Back in 2016 or 17, a series of financial management guidelines and fund balance policies aimed at among many other noteworthy goals, bolstering our reserve position in order to strengthen our financial standing, maintain a strong bond rating, and of course position us to deal with uncertain economic times. And part of that, we transfer a quarter of all certified free cash on an annual basis into the stabilization fund. Article 1 will continue that adherence to that policy. I believe, Wendy, we are anticipating free cash in the area of 3.1 million, which is a strong free cash certification for the close of fiscal 23. So a quarter of that, you're looking at 750,000, 775,000. With our existing stabilization fund balance, this this transfer will push stabilization to close to about 6.5 million. Many of the board members have served for quite some time, and before that, we're on the finance committee. So I thought it was important to bring this tonight. When these policies were adopted, when many of us started working together in our current capacities, our stabilization fund balance was in the mid 1 million range, and have been more than quadrupled, and will be in the best position it's been in ever. So.
And it should be 7 to 10% of the budget?
7 to 10% is the
goal?
The goal that we set for our cumulative reserves, which is stabilization and free cash. So when we adopted these policies, we were usually in the 4 to 5% range. The past few years, we have been between 8.7 and 10.5.
That's an amazing transformation
Very
in the
impressive.
past 7 years.
Yes, it
And
is.
there's no coincidence that that's how long you've been the town administrator. So, I appreciate the board voting to adopt these financial management principles and being patient through these periods of time, because we've had some very tough budget years where we've had to do things that we didn't love, but the town, Connor, under your leadership, the town staff and department heads have done a really great job of, finding new ways to find efficiencies, finding new ways to save money, as well as being able to continue to be innovative. So,
I'd also like to recognize our labor unions have been a big part of that. Negotiating, trying to get to fair wage deals, but that are sustainable in a Prop 2.5 environment in a minimum wage community is a really, really hard balance. And also the schools. There was a offhanded comment at town meeting about school finances. The superintendent made a very good point in response that I appreciated, that the schools are doing quite well in Easton, and that we are able to work together, select board, school committee, the town and school administration, to try to continue to provide a high level of service while building reserves without a general override while being minimum aid is a very complex balance, and appreciative of the schools and also our employees for helping. It's a kind of large team effort. So.
excellent.
If I may, so I just want to point out, so when this was adopted, I think I was on the finance committee. I think you may have been on the finance committee at that time as well. And I remember being hyper concerned. We were always super hyper concerned. I know that's a little bit redundant. And hyper focused on our stabilization funds. And we felt like our back was against the wall, and if anything went wrong, it was not going to be a very good situation. And that was, maybe 8, 9 years ago, 10 years ago. To go from where we were at to where we were to now is incredible. I don't ever want to get comfortable, because that's a dangerous position to be comfortable with where you're at. But adopting that policy has really financially padded this town, benefited this town, allowed us to do so many things in this town with security. So let's keep going in this direction. I know we will, but it's been a blessing.
Well, adopting the principles, anyone can adopt the principles. It's sticking to them that's the hard part.
There have been hard budget years.
100%. But we did both. We adopted them and we stuck to them. So,
Well, I also remember when we were interviewing for the town administrator, Craig and I were a part of that, and one of the other candidates, that their claim to fame was that they increased their stabilization account significantly and their budget, and when we asked how they did that, they said that they let go a lot of their employees. So there's ways that you can easily do it, which, that's one way. That's not the way that we wanted to do it. So it's been a lot of thoughtfulness and strategy and smart people looking at ways that we can get there. So there's a lot of people involved in this, and just want to say thank you. So Article 1, transfer to the stabilization fund.
I move to include and recommend Article 1.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Article 2, payment to bills from a prior fiscal year.
There are none at this time, and I can't recall if you already voted to include. No, Elizabeth's saying no, so that is as good as gospel to me. So I would ask the board just take a motion to include. If we end up having none by the 13th, it'll be dismissed on the floor.
Move to include Article 2.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Article 3, amend the 2024 operating budget.
Sure. Article 3 is some minor adjustments to the current year operating budget for the accountants department, inspectional services, regional and county assessments, and DPW administration. It's all covered in the explanation, which I'll read for the public's benefit. The article will amend the fiscal year 2024 operating budget before setting the tax rate. The accountant department requires additional funding related to a clerical wage adjustment. Inspectional services require supplemental funding for the alternate plumbing and gas inspector and clerical wage adjustment. Bristol County Aggie adjustment was slightly higher than estimated at the time of setting the budget. And Public Works requires additional funding associated with utility costs related to Merle Hall and Center School, which custody of which transferred over to us halfway through last fiscal year. One of those you were addressing tonight.
Okay.
So I move to include and recommend Article 3.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay. Article 4, supplemental fiscal year 2024 capital budget.
Sure. Article 4, as is typical, we set a 5-year capital improvement plan on an annual basis every spring with the capital planning committee, recommend what we can or is timely every May, and then we hold off on other items that either cycle in the fall, like police cruisers and hardware replacements for IT, or that we want to see where free cash is trending towards. And so that's what this list is. There's a couple of adjustments here, including financial accounting software, which we increased. That was a placeholder. This is closer to an actual estimate. That would be for both town and school. Finance Director Nightingale can speak about that in much more detail than I can in a moment. But any adjustments on here that were not previously voted by the Capital Planning Committee, Wendy did go back to capital planning. They did review it and they did vote to recommend it. So I don't know if anyone on the board has any questions about any of the items. Wendy certainly can answer them.
Any questions?
I do have a quick question. On the town hall EV charging stations, which I think is fantastic. It's not a. Is that free for somebody who wants to use those stations? Do they have to pay, or is it just free?
Fairly certain that there will be a credit swipe. Their primary purpose is for as we start electrifying our fleet that we can. So primary purpose would be for our as we start, lighter duty vehicles.
Or vehicles.
We actually tried to move to EV trucks, but the wait time is like 4 centuries. So we're at hybrid right now. But as we get to places where lighter duty vehicles, health inspectors, those types of vehicles can move to full EV, we'll have some charging ports here.
Okay, so they're for the town, not for the public.
Correct, but I think depending on the model we end up purchasing,
The plan was to also allow the public to be able to charge their vehicles, but there would be a fee for that.
Okay, good. I wouldn't want to be just giving that away to anyone who can come here for 20 minutes and charge up.
Sure.
Because that costs a lot of money. That's my
So I feel like we got a grant from Green Communities, and we didn't accept it because it wasn't enough money to do the charging stations?
No, I
Or did
believe we still accepted. We do have grant funding going towards this. we didn't act on it because we didn't have enough, there was not additional funds, this being those funds appropriated. Some of this cost is also the running of conduit to get from
Right.
the service across the parking lot. So it's not a cheap proposition,
Right, because
unfortunately.
when I saw 100,000, I'm like, that's not going to do very much, so that's,
No, there is grant
they're
money.
very expensive.
Yeah, they are not cheap.
how
so
many stations would this be?
I think two.
Two, okay.
So this is the associated labor, the trenching, conduit, and then there's grant money. I believe some is Green Communities and some is actually incentive from National Grid. I'm not
Right.
positive.
Great,
No pun intended.
all right.
Well,
Anybody else, any other questions, comments?
The financial accounting, can you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So the financial accounting software that we have now, we have had since, we started in January 2009 for in-house payroll, and then went to full use of all the modules for fiscal 10. So we've had it for quite a while. The software company is called SoftWrite. It was built on a platform that it's kind of old architecture now, and they were bought out by another company that is actually looking to migrate their users over to another software that they have, that this company that bought SoftWrite, they have their own accounting software as well. So they bought SoftWrite and they bought another company called KVS, and they are looking to migrate their users over to that. They're not requiring it, but obviously in this time with cybersecurity being so important, we're at a point where we've really outgrown the software and need to make some changes, school department in particular. And this software would cover everything. I mean, all the modules that we have now, and it's not just the general ledger. It's general ledger, it's accounts payable, it's property tax receivables, utility billing, payroll, budgeting. So there's a lot of features, and we looked at, so far, we've looked at several companies. We will have to do an RFP, but we have had several demos from some of the more prominent vendors in the state. And we feel that this amount, it is a lot of money, but it covers a lot of things. It covers, in particular, it covers the conversion of the data. And
That's big.
That's pretty intricate, yes. And it really is a big involved process when you convert to a new software. To do all of the modules, they're saying it's probably going to take about 3 years really to complete everything, because we're not going to do everything at once. We are going to do it. We're going to roll in general ledger and move on to payroll, and then we'll move on to property tax receivables. So it will take several years. It will take a lot of hours. There's a lot of hours involved in the conversion of the data, and there'll be a lot of hours, just put in by the staff as well. So we feel that $750, even though it is a lot, will cover all of that. And the other thing too is this software is going to be in the cloud, so it's software as a service. When we first sign on with them, particularly for like general ledger, and they start doing conversions, you pay for that service, for that year in the beginning. So that is also included in here, because we didn't budget for that. So that's also part of this.
And I assume that will include training as
Yes.
well?
Well, that's also one of the benefits of moving from, internally maintained or internally virtualized servers for what we're doing is having, similar to why we've been moving all of our other IT systems in this direction as well, to modernize and have, day zero security patching and making sure that these systems are as secure as possible, but also as usable as possible. I mean, the system we have now, we've got a lot of life out of, but there's a lot of labor hours lost, frankly, on workarounds and attempting to make modules that were not designed for what they're.
Inefficiency.
It's inefficient. It's inefficient. We don't.
It has become inefficient.
Yeah,
Will this change anything about the online bill paying system, or will we still be using Unipay?
If you buy that module.
They do have their own providers and stuff, but, you know, we could still use Unipay. We'll have to evaluate the merits of theirs versus Unipay.
Can I just put a
Make
plug
change.
in for a request? So other places that I've seen, you can sign up to get a text or an email when your bill is due. I'd love to see that here, because I hate paying my water bill late. I know I should remember that myself, but I need help.
Not gonna say anything.
So does the 750 include the implementation of all the modules, or just to start? So it's all the modules
it-
plus the first year's
Yeah,
annual
it's
fee?
it's all the modules, yeah. It'll probably take several years to fully expend it, but.
Is
but
it user-based, or is it based on, like, it's subscription model?
It's a
Oftentimes.
subscription model.
Right, is that
but-
a user-based model?
It's up to,
Seats,
yeah, so many seats. It's concurrent users.
okay.
Which is another limitation of the current one we have, correct?
Right.
The current system is, it's
If
it's
too many,
just
if too many
slow.
users are accessing it, can slow it down or close it. And again, this is shared between town and school. So we need to be able to rapidly get in, do what we need to do, make these transactions.
In the school department, they've brought on more users because they're starting to decentralize like purchase orders and things like that to make things more efficient for their operations. And it's causing, you know, slowdowns, and it's, you know, it's just inefficient for them as well.
This is just the way technology works.
It's not if,
I
it's
mean,
when.
Yeah. So,
Well, I had no idea what Mark was talking about, but I'll trust him that he knows what he's talking about, so.
Will all of the legacy data from the previous system be moved over to the new system, or how far back will the data go?
They'll do 3 years.
Okay.
3 years of general ledger, but 5 years of payroll information.
Okay.
That's good. Is it unlimited storage? I know you're taking demos, you haven't picked a vendor yet.
Right,
but,
right.
You know, that's something that I would think that's possible to have unlimited storage. With what they're doing now, they can capture so much data, and I don't like the idea of having it back against the wall where you have a capacity, and there's definitely offerings out there where it's unlimited capacity. There's freedom in that.
It's the cost of getting your stuff out too that can really get you the AWS thing. So
all right, are we ready to make a motion?
I move to recommend and include Article 4.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. All right, Article 7. Thanks, Wendy.
Thank you, Wendy.
Article 7 is a transfer to the Injured on Duty Indemnity Fund. As the board will recall, this was a fund that was established that the board maintains back in 2021 with an initial appropriation of $100,000. It's a special access reserve fund, so to speak, that's limited to very specific purposes, which is to direct or incidental costs relating to 111F injury on duty claims, operating costs for backfilling folks who are out on IOD, for police and fire department. The balance of 100 has dropped to 50 since then, and we are looking to replenish it, I believe, with another 50 and put it back at 100. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And the source would be free cash, I would imagine, or available funds.
More than likely.
Okay.
Well, I move to include and recommend Article 7.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Okay, Article 8 is street acceptance for Barron Drive and Cooper Lane. That's what we just talked about earlier today.
Yes, you held a hearing on it, but I believe you also need to vote to include it recommended in a warrant.
Yep.
I think that was part of the vote, but
I would ask.
it won't hurt to
Should-
redo it.
Sure.
Better twice than once in the wrong spot. And
All right, Craig.
So I move to include and recommend Article 8.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. And last but not least, Article 9, a zoning amendment, 235-47 for a floodplain overlay district, FPOD. Do you want to come up and explain this to us, Stephanie?
Please do.
thank you, Wendy.
Thanks, Wendy. Good night.
Thank you, Wendy.
So this is an amendment to update Easton's floodplain management zoning to meet FEMA standards. Municipalities that have adopted floodplain overlay districts zoning compliant with FEMA requirements for flood hazard management, which is what a floodplain is. It's a flood hazard. Are eligible to participate in the National Flood Insurance Program. This program actually discounts flood insurance for residents who are in the flood zone or have properties in the flood zone and are living in eligible municipalities. So in order for a municipality to be eligible for their residents to take advantage of the National Flood Insurance Program discount, they have to have a zoning overlay district that complies with the FEMA regulations. Easton's had a floodplain overlay district for probably several decades now in place, and I think it was updated a few years ago when the flood map changes. Communities have to update their flood zone overlay district. But in this case, what happened is just prior to 2020, FEMA identified some discrepancies in Massachusetts model flood hazard bylaw. And this is with the bylaw template that most communities base their floodplain overlay zoning on. And then changes were made in 2020 to the state's model template with some additional changes that were made in 2021. And all communities needed to go in, look at their zoning regulations to see if they met the standard. Easton needed to make some changes in order to become compliant. A couple of things I really want to stress here is that the zoning amendment does not add any properties to the floodplain or flood hazard area to the map. That's done through FEMA, through studies that they do over time, and when they publish new maps, that's a big deal. They release drafts out to the communities to review before they actually put them into play. That's not what's happening here. This is really just to change some of the language in the zoning itself. It does not, I just said, it doesn't change the flood insurance rate map. That's done at the FEMA level. And a question that the planning board had was, because you'll see that it has certain standards, certain reviews that need to be conducted when certain construction is being proposed. And the planning board was concerned, well, does that increase the review period for projects that are being permitted? And the answer is no, because all those reviews are currently being done already, whether it's through the building department when they're reviewing construction projects, ensuring that either properties aren't in a floodplain, structures aren't being built in the floodplain, or if they are, they're being built to a standard that is consistent with FEMA requirements. The Conservation Commission reviews any projects that are proposed in a floodplain to ensure that they're not creating obstacles that would either increase the rate of floodwaters flowing or redirect them into other areas. And the planning board also does that level of review for any projects that come before them.
Okay. Do we have the floodplain overlay district map on our GIS on our website?
I believe so.
Okay. I just feel like
And
somebody's going to ask for the map. What does this look like? So I just want to be sure that.
And
we have that.
we can provide a map for people. We can have that available in the department. We can have a map that shows the floodplain overlay district where the flood hazard areas are. It's available there's a mass, through the state
GIS?
GIS,
Yeah.
that layer's available.
Okay. Yeah, I just think that'll be a question that somebody's going to ask about where to find the map or what is the map. Or
And again, they can contact us.
Okay.
We can make it available to them. It's also available through FEMA. They have it available online as well.
But to your point, we might want to be prepared for that at town meeting, because you can't say,
Yeah.
vote on this in one direction or another, but call me later with the questions about this map. Even
The-
though-
But,
it's
but
not-
the
it's
map's
not
not going to
changing.
change.
Doesn't change.
It's not
but
changing.
But
they
I
might
think,
wanna
I think
see it.
people are going to want to visually
In order
see
for
it.
them to confidently
wanna
vote
see
in
it,
one direction or
sure.
another, they want
Yeah,
to see it,
yeah.
whether it changes or not.
That being said, I think, we have several areas of floodplain throughout the town. In most cases, right now, what we have are 32 properties that are located within the floodplain, actually physically located, and that benefit from the flood insurance program. I think showing the map online may be difficult for people to actually see the floodplain. I understand and appreciate the comment, and we'll
I
look
support
into
this.
that.
I just, I know that's going to come.
Yeah.
I feel like that's going to come up, and we need to adequately answer that
Yeah, there will be a map.
better than call me later or go to this website.
There will be a map.
Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. All right. Any other comments, questions? Craig?
Okay, so I move to include and recommend Article 9.
Second.
That's Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent.
Just to be clear, I'm on RGIS. Our GIS has the floodplain overlay district map.
Fantastic.
I thought it probably did.
I have no doubt it does.
I can't answer
Okay,
with
okay,
that.
okay.
I mean, it's throughout town.
It is throughout.
Yeah, there's a lot of Easton's wet, but if somebody is curious, they could. It's pretty neatly follows wetlands and rivers and streams, but there's a layer people could put on GIS near Beaver Brook, things like that. Anywhere where there's water is likely near it, but if people are curious, it is on our GIS. They could click on floodplain overlay district, and it is available.
Excellent. All right. Thanks, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take a motion to include and recommend?
Yes, we did.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Yes, and this is your, the last evening that you have this on warrant before the statutory deadline for posting. So although it's ceremonial, the board has a practice that I would ask you to continue voting to sign the final warrant.
So I move to sign the final warrant.
Second.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Excellent. All right. Next, we have the acceptance of the minutes dated October 10th and October 23rd.
So moved, Bodger.
Second, Lamb.
Bodger and Lamb, all in favor? Unanimous. Town administrator notes.
Sure. So again, thank you to everyone involved in planning for and leading up to a successful town meeting on Monday. Also want to make a note that this morning, Stephanie and I joined the governor and various state officials for a grant ceremony for the One Stop for Growth Awards. Easton received quite a few different grants. I just want to make note of. It's obviously part of our financial management strategy is finding money outside of our tax levy wherever we can for programs we know we need to do. So Easton today received a $60,000 community planning grant to do a update to our 2014 master plan, including public outreach, updating formative issues, goals and objectives, and creating an action plan to incorporate modern concerns of the community into a 10-year, basically, revisit to the master plan, which is awesome. They noted the $45,000 grant we also received through that program to support the ongoing outreach and work to come into compliance with the MBTA zoning law. We also received $100,000 under Housing Choice for something I'm super excited about, and I think Jen will be super excited about, which is to develop a climate and energy master plan for Easton, taking into consideration climate-related efforts that the town has undertaken so far, identifying major priorities and opportunities to achieve additional energy efficiencies, reduce carbon emissions, and build resiliency in Easton. So that will be awesome. Sean and I will have more to come on that.
Awesome.
And then a $280,000 MassWorks grant to fund the design for an additional pump station and Five Corners Sewer for the continued growth and build out of that district. So
That's excellent.
I didn't do the math,
Fantastic.
but it's a decent.
Great news.
It was a
Fantastic.
decent Wednesday morning.
Yes.
So.
And I would just want to add those, so this year for all of those grants, we're more competitive than ever.
Yes, they said there was
So-
5 applicants for every one award.
Yes, so that, just to stress, that's exceptional to get that many grants
Yeah,
this
we
year.
received every grant we sought.
Yep.
So that's quite nice.
Yes.
So
Fantastic work.
Setting the bar really high.
so credit to Stephanie
expect
and
no less.
DPW, and it's important to note that part of what goes into that calculus in a very competitive pool is the state looks at, how are each of these communities doing with various state priorities. Is this a community that's tried to, in good faith, work towards compliance with things like 40B, and as we move forward, programs like this for communities that don't comply with MBTA zoning go away, right?
Yes.
So Easton has worked really hard through its various citizen committees, through town meeting for years and years now to be thoughtful and strategic. But these things all work together. They see that we've been able to leverage these grants successfully, that we're thoughtful with planning, and this reemphasizes the need to continue.
Exactly. Well, congratulations to everyone involved in writing those grants.
Absolutely.
Work.
All right. Any other notes from select board members?
I have nothing tonight.
Nothing.
So we just want to emphasize, what are the important dates we need to remember? November 4th?
November 4th from 10
10
to 4
4.
at Oliver Ames High School is the debt exclusion election, and that will be the deciding factor on if police, fire, and DPW facilities are built or not. Vote by mail applications are still available this week and need to be turned in by 5 p.m. Monday. Then there is another town meeting for our regular business at 7 p.m. on November 13th. And on a note, want to say thank you very, very much to Elizabeth and Sean in our office, because there's a lot of work that comes with multiple town meetings, and also to Danielle Sicard and her staff and all of our poll workers, because having a town meeting, an election, and a town meeting in a 3-week window is intense. And they did awesome Monday. I know they'll do awesome Saturday the 4th and awesome on Monday the 13th, and we're lucky to have them.
Well, I just want to say that in the past, we had secret ballots at town meeting before, where you had to write it on a piece of paper. You had to hold up, and they'd come and count manually, and then they have to go add up all of it. So Danielle has brought forth the new way to do that with technology, so that people were able to actually fill out a paper ballot, put it in the machines, have them tabulated, and the results were very accurate. It felt like it took a long time, and it did, because there were over 500 people that were voting. Imagine doing that with paper ballots and trying to calculate and add those up by hand. It would have been really a challenge. So I felt very confident that the numbers were accurate, and really glad that she has been always a step ahead, bringing the best technology to ensure accurate vote counting in elections.
Part of the benefit of that too was that we got an opportunity to talk to almost everybody as they walked by to come
Right.
vote, which I thought was terrific. Whether they voted yes, no, it was a good opportunity.
Yep.
It's like I think Mark said, it looks like a wedding reception.
Except we didn't have to hug everyone, right? All right. Well, thank you so much, everyone. This was it was a great week for us in moving this important initiative forward, and a great meeting tonight. And with that, I would take a motion to adjourn.
So moved, Barger.
Second, Lamb.
That's Barger and Lamb. All in favor? Unanimous. Great. Thank you. Have a great week, everyone. And thank you, ECAT and Joe, for broadcasting tonight.